Emerging Leaders podcast. We're on episode number 6 with the beautiful Sophie Bennett, marketing by Sophie on Instagram, and also a fellow Clubhouse lover. And that's the thing, is what I've loved most about Clubhouse is finding people who actually, for the first time in 9 years of doing online business, finding people who I resonate with, who are my tribe. So it's been wonderful. Sophie is a social media specialist in the wellness industry, and I'm super excited to have her because there's a few elements of Sophie's experience and her expertise that I think would be a really beautiful addition to the podcast, especially bringing in the marketing perspective for those of you who want to build your legacy in an online business, and also from hearing the perspective from someone finishing college in COVID and navigating that journey into the workforce or your career pathway. So let's start there, shall we? Tell me about the last part of college and then transitioning into where you are now.
Yeah, so I finished my undergraduate degree at Southampton in July last year, so July 2020. And we all knew what we were graduating into. It was a struggling economy, people being put on furlough or made redundant, sort of left, right and centre, which already expanded the number of people that were going to be in the job market, let alone a whole influx of new graduates.
Yeah.
So we clocked that quite early on, knowing that we were going to be competing against people with a far more broad experience, CV, resume, and perhaps also had more qualifications than us, or maybe had more life experience than us. So we all knew that getting a job was going to be very, very hard. For a lot of us as well, including myself, all of our grad schemes had been cancelled. They were cancelled straight out back in March, April, without any indication if they were going to be re-recruiting or if we would have our position back. And yeah, I mean, I've never heard from them again, so I'm guessing
Wow.
they did.
Yeah.
So people who already had jobs planned, like myself, we lost them before even our first day at the job. So yeah, it was terrifying to graduate into an economy where you were sort of scared to, you more or less knew you weren't going to get a job, or you wouldn't get one for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And so that's why I ended up doing marketing by Sophie. I made my own job and sort of thought nothing could be worse than unemployment. So we'll give it a go, see how it goes. And it's gone very well. So that's always a positive.
What do you think surprised you most about starting marketing by Sophie?
I think you forget when you start a business just all the things you have to do. So it's all good and well making, so I make content for different wellness brands and I manage their Instagram profiles and things like that. It's all fun and good doing that, but you forget the whole registering with HMRC, that you have to pay tax over a certain amount, you have to have a separate business bank account, all the really technical things. You need to have legal contracts, which I didn't realize for some time. And it wasn't until, I say an adult, I am an adult, but like a more experienced adult came and told me, you've not done any of these lists of things. I just sort of went, oh, yeah, okay. I think that was the biggest shock, just the amount of components that go into starting up a business and how long it takes to do those components. It's not, you can get it all done within an hour. It's probably a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So I think that was the surprising workload on top of client work. But what makes it worthwhile is obviously I love working with my clients, and I only work with people that I want to work with, or I feel like I could develop a good relationship with. So that does make it not feel like work. It makes it feel more enjoyable, and I actually look forward to doing what I say is my job. Whereas some people unfortunately sort of dread going to work, or I actually have to go and do this today, whereas I get up, I'm like, oh yeah, I get to do this today, that's really exciting.
Nailed it straight out of the gate. There's so much I love about you, and I think when I can't remember if I first connected with you on Instagram or heard you in a clubhouse room, but the thing that instantly drew me to you was just your kind soul and how sweet you are, but also at the same time super savvy in what you do and super smart, because Sophie's also doing her master's graduates in digital marketing as well. So super savvy lady as well in your own right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard balancing the two. I'm not going to say, oh, you know, doing a master's is easy. No, it's absolutely not. But one thing that has helped a lot is being able to time block out certain times and say, okay, this is when I've got all my lectures done. These are the hours I've got to have client work and to do university coursework. Plan it appropriately and also make time for you to sleep and see your friends. That's definitely helped a lot. I think before, when I hadn't figured that out, it was very overwhelming. It was suddenly, oh gosh, I've got all of this work to do. But when you actually take a step back and breathe a little bit, you realize it's definitely manageable. You just need to be good with your time.
I really want to bring you, Sophie, on today as well, because we've highlighted a few of the people, not that there's anything wrong or anything like that. It's more just I've noticed that they are more older millennials and Gen X. And I wanted, the idea of emerging leaders was to highlight younger voices, because I think some of you guys are, and I think you're on the cusp of Gen Z to millennial, but some of you guys come out wise straight out of the box. You're born wise. Something about your generation is you're pretty clued on from get-go. So us older folks have a lot to learn from you.
Maybe, so, I don't know.
I get the sense that definitely it's been a turbulent time for everyone navigating COVID, and it's such an unexpected thing, and businesses are needing to pivot, and people are losing 20-decade careers and all sorts of things. And I feel like you've done a really good job navigating it. But I get the sense that there are a lot of people around your age who've been struggling. So without naming names, keeping privacy and all that, is there any stories that you've heard of people who you think have really struggled throughout that transition?
Yeah, so I definitely have some graduate friends who still haven't managed to get a job, especially in what their degree was. So whether that maybe was in events, obviously the event industry has been shut down for the longest time. And also it's been in other situations where they perhaps just got their degree at university and then left. And the issue surrounding is what they do drum into you a little bit at universities. You need to figure out what separates yourself from everyone else. Because the thing with my generation, not to say it wasn't hard for any other generation or anything like that, but it's so incredibly competitive now. And there's so many universities. It's no longer just like the Russell Group, it's just universities across the country. Everyone's doing degrees, and so suddenly you have this very skilled workforce. And why should someone hire you versus someone else who got the same degree result as you? And you need to figure that out, kind of figuring out what is your unique selling point of a personal brand almost. So for myself at university, it was doing different sports societies, running different committees, doing charity work, all of that sort of stuff. But then the friends I have who have graduated into COVID and still not managed to get a job, unfortunately, it's because they didn't do any of that when at university. They just did their degree. Granted, they did very well. They got a first, and clearly very smart individuals, but it's just that whole adaptability as to why an employer would take you versus the other probably 500,000 applicants to one space. So it's a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I think everyone there has taken it very well. The majority of people I know, they aren't sitting around going, oh, I'm not bothered to do anything. They're up every day applying for jobs. They're really going through it. They're not just sitting around waiting for everything to pass over. They're really resilient in everything that they do. So that's been good to see, I think, from my generation of people. Is sometimes we do get viewed as the lazy generation that don't really go and do anything, when actually in reality a lot of us are doing all-nighters. A lot of us are working in different projects left, right and center just to get that experience to then go on and get a job or make our own job.
Absolutely. I saw something on LinkedIn and it was jobs in 1970 versus jobs in 2021. It's really good. If I can find it, it was hilarious. And I have absolutely no doubt older generations, they had challenges that we couldn't even imagine. They were just different.
Yeah.
Right? So they had challenges like in Australia, they were on rations after World War II into the 1950s. My grandfather used to be a bus driver, so people used to smuggle butter and they'd go up to New South Wales and smuggle butter in their luggage, and he'd be on the bus saying, look, I'm not going to say anything about the butter in the luggage, but just saying the luggage is right near the engine and you're going to have melted butter at the other end.
Oh no.
They had their own challenges, and the example on LinkedIn was 1970, someone walks up and goes, can I have a job? And then the guy goes, yep, you can start on Monday. And then you're like, do you want to know my name? And then 2021, it was, can I have a job? I've got a degree, I've got a master's, I've got this year experience, I've got that. And then it's got the manager go like this, which is not that far off the truth. So I can definitely resonate with that. And being a millennial, we're also definitely misunderstood because the conditions that we were brought up in were very different to the conditions that a lot of us coming of age in a big recession, and then the new generation coming of age and starting work in COVID. So it's a different ball game. And I think for us as well, taking into context older generations, but for older generations to take into context the kind of environment that the younger generations are launching their careers in, which is very different from what they went through.
There was another example before I started doing my business about a year ago, and it only really gained momentum in the winter also. So before the momentum started happening, I was still applying for graduate roles. And there was one, I won't say which company it was, but sadly I got rejected from it. But they said, we just want to let you know you were in the top 50 of 7,000 applicants for one space.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So there's 7,000 students applying for one application, one job role, and they had advertised, I think, maybe about 6 job roles. So if you multiply that, you've got what? Tens of thousands.
What is 7 times 6? 50,000.
You think about tens of thousands of students applying for 6 positions in COVID.
Yeah.
That's just describes the magnitude of the things that we're competing against.
Absolutely. So it's definitely a time where I think the whole idea of the workforce is changing, and that we need to find new ways to provide opportunities for graduates, because we're going to have a whole new workforce. We're going to have a world with a whole new set of challenges. And I don't think we're there yet in providing those opportunities. So I can't imagine what it is like, but I'm just really grateful to hear your perspective on it and the perspective that a lot of grads are doing. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight young voices and help people who, whether they are just graduating and trying to figure out where they're going to go in their career, or they've been furloughed or have had a career sidebar, and just help them find a new avenue, because it's definitely been a point of navigation. And some people have found their direction a little easier than others. And I definitely love what you said about the USP, finding your USP. And I think if we could do more about teaching young people to find their USP for their own careers, I think that would go a long way to help. So it's a beautiful insight.
I think that always will help sort of like your interview process and things like that, because they always do reiterate to us it is how you are going to be the different Joe blogs. How are you going to be standing out on a piece of paper? And that's why on LinkedIn, I don't know if you've ever seen, but a lot of people make creative CVs now.
Yeah.
So they'll make fully branded, almost like slideshow CVs, replicating their brand identity and the brand product that they're applying for.
Yeah.
And that's what's getting them seen, rather than just an A white piece of paper that says what you did. Yeah.
That's cool. I know there's a big hype around self-employment and starting your own business. I think it is because since I was 19 years old, I've always had my entrepreneurial hat on. So I went straight into running my own business once I finished high school. And I know from that experience, it's not for everyone, but it can be for some people who it's more suited to than others. So I think some people are better suited to a career role, but if we could just give people a career role that actually helped them, and so they weren't stuck in companies where they hated going to work, but actually provided environments that actually supported employees to do well, I think we could create the best of both worlds.
I think as well, what a lot of educational institutions do is they do try to force you into these large corporations or push you to apply for jobs. They rarely ever say, oh, have you thought about starting up your own? Partially I understand it is because they want to be able to say, oh, we've sent students to here, there and everywhere for their own marketing perhaps, but at the same time I do think if they were able to say, we have students who have gone on to make their own businesses that are now doing all of these things, that might be slightly more impressive than we just got a student into another standard grad scheme, although they're very hard to get, and I want to emphasize how hard they are to get. It might just be a good add-on for the self-employment option that you can go into, rather than thinking it's the be-all and end-all if you don't get into a grad scheme.
And providing sort of the structure for people who, when you're starting out, and all of those business surprises, helping people navigate all that rather than you just got to do it on your own. And it's one of the things I want the platform to do, and the legacy program is what I want that to be for people as well. So we'll see if it can play some small part in that, then that's awesome. What I also love about you is your sporting background, but I don't know much about it. You started playing sports when you were about 10. What sports did you play?
Started playing basketball when I was 10 years old and moved up through it quite quickly. I was playing under 16s at 13, under 18s at 15. That's quite gradual, getting better very quickly. And then we had a team at school called the ISST team, so I grew up in the Netherlands at this point. The UK equivalent would be a bit higher than a first team at a school. I would say it would be bridging the gap between like first team and county maybe. And we got to travel to different countries to play against different teams from those schools that had also similar teams and everything like that. So that was really fun. Then I came to university and kept playing basketball for another 3 years for the first team at Southampton. And then it just got to the point where I had done it for 12 years and I lost the interest. I wasn't looking forward to going to training anymore. It was, I need something different now. I've enjoyed competing and I've enjoyed the sort of intensive pressure that you have with competing, but I just need to have something a bit more relaxed and a bit more fun now, especially because going into your final year of university, you don't really have the time to be doing super intensive competitive sport unless it's going somewhere, like if it's going GB or going the England route or anything like that. So I switched to mixed lacrosse in my placement year of university, and I still do that now, so that's really good fun. It's a lovely sort of community family of different students. It's a mixed sport, so it's men's and women's, and we train 2 to 3 times a week and still have matches and everything outside of COVID, obviously. It's really fun, and it's definitely something different when you say to people like, oh, I play lacrosse. They all go, is that the one where you've got like a fishing net? And and I was like, yeah, that is the one. Yeah, we've had a fishing net, hockey in the Wild Child. There's always a reference to that film because they play in the film. Yeah, I really, really love it now. And I do enjoy that it's more recreational than there being a pressure that you need to win matches, that you need to be on a certain diet, like all this sort of stuff. So it is a lot nicer, and I think the atmosphere is a lot friendlier as well when the pressure isn't there to perform constantly. But I'm also training to be a personal trainer alongside everything else. I'm almost finished with my level 2, and then the plan is to have my level 3 done by June, July this year. So it's very interesting, and I do enjoy it. I try to go to the gym nearly every day, with rest days obviously as well. So it's definitely an avenue I really, really enjoy, hence the whole why I do wellness brands.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, it's cool. As far as basketball concerned, I was a swimmer, so I've got no hand-eye coordination whatsoever.
That's fair enough.
I was short for a swimmer, so I think I'd be tiny for a basketball player.
Well, I'm only 5'6", so I'm not.
Oh, same height as me. Yeah, there
I'm
you
not
go.
massively tall or anything like that. So
well, there we go. I've just had my mindset shifted. Thank you. And what I love about your story with the elite athletes was that with your basketball is how well you know yourself, because and at such a young age as well, to recognize that was happening with your basketball and make an adjustment to something that you enjoyed more. And there's a lot of people out there who don't have that same skill in themselves, and it's almost like they beat them head against a brick wall going, I'm not enjoying this, I'm not enjoying this. And then it's like, well, how about if you make a change and stop beating your head against the brick wall? So I think that's a really beautiful gift that you've had, and I hope that comes across in the podcast episode of your process of going about that, because I think people, old or young, have a lot to learn from that. So let's chat a little bit about marketing, and then we'll go wrap up with some final questions. So your favorite channel from our chats is Instagram, and you're studying digital marketing. So when you're working for an ideal wellness brands, what's your favorite element? Do you enjoy the posting? Do you enjoy building the plan or the strategy? What's your favorite element?
I really love the creative side of it. People come to me with an idea and say, look, I've got this idea, I've got this vision, but I don't know how to bring it to life in terms of a visual image or a grid as for Instagram or a brand identity in any way. And I get to go away and do that for them. And I think the thing that I get the most out of is when I then go back to them with what I've made and they get really excited. That's when I'm like, yes. Oh, cool. So obviously with what I do, the whole strategy aspect does come into it, because to have a good performing social media platform, there does need to be a strategy in place. You can't just post whatever, anything and anything at whatever time. There is a whole plethora of different components that go into what makes a successful, say, Instagram profile. But the one I do get the biggest kick out of is the content creation, and then seeing them all excited and happy and ready to go, like, yes, let's attack this, or not attack it, but like, yes, let's make this live, let's make this happen. That's what I really, really enjoy with that side of marketing, is bringing an idea to life and seeing where it can go. From digital marketing, in terms of the masters, it's definitely very strategic based. They don't really go into much of the creative side of things. With that being said, though, I do really enjoy aspects of the strategic stuff. There are some where I do nearly just sort of, this is a bit dull, but you do need to obviously know it and understand it in order to implement it further on for things to then work. So they're all crucial aspects, but obviously, like any subject, some things are going to be more interesting to you than others.
Cool. Thank you. Because there's going to be a lot of people in the wellness field who are like, yes, I have an idea, but I have absolutely no idea how to turn it into visuals, which is, that's my challenge. Is I like all writing, but I don't have no idea how to translate it into a visual. That's why we need people like you. One of the things about this platform that we're building is I wanted it to be a space as well of a hub highlighting young voices, people who I really believe in and who I think have a lot to offer, and also are well vetted as well. So what I love about you is, because there's so much noise in online marketing, I wasn't about to just throw anyone in and highlight someone as an online marketing person, because there's a lot of regurgitating of other people's stuff. There's a lot of people who haven't done any formal training. And you're someone who not only has studied this at undergraduate level, but is studying it at master's level, and also is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. So legit.
If anything, nearly overqualified.
No, not at all. I don't think you're overqualified at all. I just get that you're the real deal. Absolutely. So yes, if you're watching this and you've been looking for someone to help you with your marketing, you could not go wrong with Marketing by Sophie 100%. So yes, I'm excited, and I really do hope that this is sort of the beginning of our journey together. And I do believe, I know we said this when we first connected, that we might have connected for a reason. And I do hope that continues to prove to be true, because you're just such a lovely person. And I'm just enjoying having this back and forth and this conversation and talking about topics that I think are timely and important and probably aren't getting enough airtime. And we'll go into some of the usual questions that I've been asking a lot of the guests. And I think we can take this in the context of your generation as stepping into, because you guys are going to be the leaders of the future once we're too old to to think, once we're all losing our minds. And so what I'm curious about is taking into context everything that's happened over the past year. Do you have a vision for the future, or has even your vision for your future or the future of your generation changed somewhat because of what's been happening with COVID?
I think from a sort of general perspective of my generation, it will be a generation of people who are very forward thinkers. Not to say that isn't there now, but there will be very forward thinkers and very much able to adjust to situations very quickly. And it will be a very innovative environment as well, with new ideas and pushing for new ideas and new change. That's one thing that my generation has done a lot, is definitely push for different change in all aspects. I'm not going to go into like politics and all this sort of stuff, but there is a lot of younger people, even younger than me, in the background who are really pushing for things to be different. And I think that will only come more to light as we all get older. There will be some significant changes made. And then from, say, like a working perspective, there will, I think, be a greater shift towards technology, because that's what we've been brought up to learn. So we're just going to adjust to that as even faster than we were before. And alongside that, like I said, forward thinking, new ideas, and I think as well a lot of resilience. So if for whatever reason we had another pandemic, God forbid, you would have a generation of people who have been like, right, okay, how are we going to deal with this, rather than thinking, oh God, something's gone wrong. We don't think that way. We think in the way of, right, we've got an issue, so how are we going to solve it? And I do love that with the people that I talk to. A lot of people I'm friends with, they aren't the type to sit there and complain that something's gone wrong. Fair enough, we all have a little bit of a whinge sometimes if you've not been your day. But overall, it's always like, right, okay, this has gone wrong. What am I going to do about it? It's not sitting and mulling things over constantly. It's a very proactive approach to things. So from a generational perspective, I think that's what will be the greatest change.
Oh, definitely. I think for companies to be able to continue to compete successfully, innovation has to become a bigger priority. And so a willingness to entertain new ideas. So cultures being open to this new generation coming in with ideas right from the get-go. I think companies that do that, I think, are going to do very, very well. So the big question of this series is, what do you think makes a great leader? Actually, we'll do this two ways. The first way is, what is the best way for an older generation leader in a company or a business to support someone of your generation? Because they just don't get it, some of them.
So from someone that I actually work with at the moment, it all works into the answer to the question. They found me on Clubhouse. They basically said to me, we recognize you're a graduate and what comes with that. So the whole, you're lacking in experience, you're lacking in these sort of areas which someone who's maybe an established professional would have otherwise. But he said to me, I look beyond is not what's on the paper, is what you come out with. So if you actually really sit down and talk to graduates, if you're in a leadership position and you maybe go to interview your graduates, rather than doing the whole, I think it's called like a star approach when you have an interview or something like that. I would argue deviate away from that. Because we're drummed into regurgitating answers that fit that framework. Whereas if you really just sit down and ask genuine questions, I think you'll be able to recruit graduates who are more suited to your business and are also going to bring in those innovative ideas. Rather than just saying, oh yeah, this was the time that I was a part of a team. Like
Yeah.
in my view, it just doesn't work now. It's not suited to the business realm of things.
No.
You really do need to be getting to know people on a more personal level to understand whether they suit you in your business and if they have the work ethic that you're looking for, which a lot of us really do. I know people do think, yeah, we're the lazy generation, but we have an incredible work ethic. We're driven to work hard. That's all we want to do if you just gave us a chance to do it. So
beautiful. And leaders in your generation, for people who are coming through, what do you think will make a great leader in your generation?
I think it will be two things. One is the whole adaptability and being able to make quick changes fast, because markets are changing faster than ever, regardless of whether that's in the marketing space or finance or anything like that. There's something new every day, and if you've bought a book, it's probably out of date by the time you've bought that book. Yeah. The other perspective, I think it will be from being able to take a step back from what your views are. So put aside what your views are, put aside what experiences you've had, and be able to look at the bigger picture of an individual. And I think then you'll create some very strong teams of different backgrounds, of different skills, whether it's soft skills, hard skills, whatever. And you'd be able to build a team which will be able to get through any type of challenge. And if I was a leader in that perspective, I would be looking for people who are driven, who have different life experiences but aren't necessarily shouting about them in their CVs or anything like that. And also looking for those who really do want to make that change in whatever realm of work that is.
Oh, thank you. Well, I do hope people in their 20s and people who are running businesses, at least some of them, listen or watch this to hear, yeah, you are one of the voices of your generation, and yeah, always more than need to be heard. So it's been so lovely chatting to you, and I know we could probably, more rabbit holes I could go down, but we'll wrap it up there. Do make sure, if you're in a wellness business, which means yoga, meditation, personal training. Oh, I forgot to mention, that was my first business out of high school.
Okay.
Trainer. Yeah, did that for 7 years. Know that route.
Know that well.
That was good fun. Yeah, so personal training, fitness related, even personal growth, they're kind of your specialties.
Yeah, mental health as well.
Mental health
comes into that
beautiful.
As well. So.
I think I love how COVID has destigmatized that.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's been wonderful. So, so good. Super important work. So if you resonate with what Sophie said, do make sure you reach out and connect to her. It's at Marketing by Sophie on Instagram. And so reach out, DM her, have a chat, and if she's a good fit, do make sure that you do reach out. And I hope I can highlight some of your expertise on the platform as well, if we can get you to do some articles and stuff like that. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
No worries. And she's just a super sweet human being. I love that.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been a pleasure and an honor chatting to you. We'll wrap it up there. That's it from episode number 6 of the Emerging Leaders podcast, and we'll see you for the next episode very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.